Hi, Nick. Thanks for chatting with me today. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. And yourself?
I'm doing all right, thanks. So the reason why I wanted to chat with you is because I wanted to talk to a developer to get someone with a completely different skill set or perspective on some legal tech issues. If you were to give a short intro about yourself, what would you say?
Sure. I've been in development about 25 years, and 20 years of that I've been working with law firms. So I was building intranets back in the day, and then extranets, client portals we call them now, and yeah, many integrations, automations, everything in between, intake portals, AI-based work, agentic systems like Dockhouse, which I released open source kind of team of legal AI assistants that can help with drafting and things like that. So yeah, I feel like I've been around the scene for a while. I spoke with a lot of lawyers. I work with top 100 UK law firms. And yeah, I feel like I've got good experience, but I'm always being
Mhm.
challenged.
Yeah, and you're in Singapore at the moment, right?
I'm actually in Thailand right now, but yeah,
Hmm.
Singapore is where my company SureScale is based.
What's the legal tech scene like there? Do you know?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think the government do a lot to support legal tech startups. For example, Clio was a great success story where they were funding 90% of the cost. I think it was 90% to put Clio into law firms. So they're covering a lot of the license fees and things. So I know they got supported quite a bit in the UK as well. Law Society was endorsing them when they first came out. So yeah, but there's good support in Singapore. Startups get a lot of support. They get a lot of tax incentives and things like that in the first 3 years. So yeah, it's a very innovative place. And Singapore's always seen as kind of the gateway between APAC and Europe. It's well positioned and has strong economy and business mindset.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen like a big legal tech company come out of Asia. It's always just surprising to me. Maybe there is
Yeah,
one and you just don't know
maybe
it.
there is. I feel like there is. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, yeah, I've never really seen, maybe they just don't get as much marketing out there.
Hmm.
Maybe.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah. And how did you find your way to legal tech and Doc House, by the way?
I was just working with a variety of clients back in the day, and just by coincidence, many of them were law firms. And you know how it is in the law, right? You do a good job, and then people refer you. It's very relationship driven. So I
Mm.
just ended up getting a lot of legal work. So yeah, my experience kind of kept doubling down in that area. And
Mm.
Dockhouse is kind of, I was in between projects, and I kind of wanted to put something out there to accelerate the pace and development of the industry. I saw a lot of opportunity in open source. I think there's a strong drive towards open source and hosting your own models and things like that. So I wanted to be a part of that kind of movement forwards.
That brings me to my next question. What incentivizes someone to start an open source tool? Like, what are the motivations to that? I'm curious.
I think what I've certainly noticed I've worked with a lot of startups and different businesses, and sales and marketing is so hard right now. It's just there's this notion of channel collapse where someone discovers a cool way of like marketing themselves, and then everyone uses AI to kind of tenfold their efforts and just piles in on the same channel. There was like first it was like SEO and articles, then it went to Reddit, and as people started building bots to like automate their marketing on Reddit, and then I think YouTube is one, and trying to position yourself as a thought leader on LinkedIn, which obviously collapses with all the AI slop that gets to it. So really, attention is the what you need right now, and you have to come up with creative ways that aren't a shortcut that can be replaced with AI. So like building things that offer significant value, hosting a podcast or video series, things
Mhm.
like this that require real human effort that you can't just automate in 10 minutes and just like leave a tool kind of just putting slop out there. So it was very self-driven, but it was kind of to get my name out there, be part of the movement. I'd love to spin the story. It's like, oh, I believe in, good and all that. And, I believe in the open source movement, and I do, don't get me wrong, but it is self-driven to like get my name out there more.
Got it. No, the reason why I ask is because like then there's there are people online who run with this narrative that like some open source tool can compete with Harvey or Legora, for example. Do you think that's possible?
I don't think it can. I think I mean, to me, it's kind of pointless to have a tool that exists just as a wrapper around OpenAI or Anthropic. I mean, you may as well just go directly to them. They're all building legal AI plugins and that, and incentivizing them with generous offers and things like that. But Harvey, I mean, the hardest part is getting into the law firms, and most of the AML 200. Is it 200? Anyway,
some number, 100 or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, they're using Harvey. Yeah, in Europe, it's Legora, and yeah, getting into those firms is the hardest part. And I think they're subsidizing. I know Legora going usage based, but they're subsidizing the costs heavily. So they're kind of learning the market, and they're not just simple. There's people out there just saying they're simple, thin AI wrappers around the commercial models. I think they're a lot more than that. They've got their own data repositories. They've got their own agents that they build in. There's a lot more beyond that. Yeah, the plugins are part of it. I mean, you could build them in a few hours, and I know some people have tried vibe coding it and just put stuff out there, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I think, I've been looking at the Harvey Lab benchmarks that they developed, and I've seen the kind of thought that's gone into those benchmarks and creating them in a way that really shows that their technical knowledge, but also that they know what they're talking about with Harvey. So I think they have pretty good products, but they are very focused on big law and open source. I mean, there's something that smaller law firms can implement with a lot more ease and lower costs. And now they're starting to introduce consumption-based pricing. It makes it it will make it a bit out of reach for the smaller firms and the individual lawyers that work by themselves. And the other thing with open source is the wrapper, the harness is one thing, but the hosting a model is expensive. And to take GLM, for example, it would cost to host that model. It's a multi-billion parameter model, maybe even I don't think it's into the trillions, but it's a big model, and it will cost you tens of thousands to host that every year. So you have to use an API of some sort, a hosting model, and GLM is hosted through that API in China. And you're back to square one, right? You're back to, well, you may as well use OpenAI and Claude, at least for now, where they're subsidizing the costs quite extensively. From what I understand, it's like for every kind of token you pay for, they're putting 10 in or so for free because the compute power is so expensive. But those costs are coming down too. So
I also wonder if the firms were aware that someone was subsidizing these costs. Because like for the general public, it seems like it's just come out of nowhere. This switch to consumption-based model pricing.
Yeah. It's really complicated. I don't have the answers for sure. I can only like speculate and just put my thoughts out there. But it's inevitable that they have to go consumption-based at some point. The VC money runs out, and law firms aren't the kind of people to just switch their tool just because something else comes along. I remember selling LegalTech, and I still do sometimes. It takes about 18 months to close things with the big firms, with the big law companies. You've got InfoSec, you've got different levels of hierarchy and people making the decisions. And in law as well, people are leaving and joining other firms all the time. So the whole thing could break down and you have to reconstruct and fill people in all the time. It takes so long. But Harvey and Ligor are already in the firms. That's the hard bit. So they've kind of nailed that already. And I think a lot of law firms will just naturally follow into the consumption-based pricing. I think there's a lot of conversation around pricing right now. And I mean, it's like, what, $500 a seat or something like that for Harvey. I mean, some of these lawyers are charging thousands per hour for their work.
Yes,
I think I'm not convinced pricing is the right topic or concern for many of the law firms. I think it's going to be actually the quality of the work that's output, because a lot of these systems and models are outputting a lot of hallucinations. And if you're constructing a contract, as you work through it, you're checking things, right? You're researching, putting it into the contract. You're able to like have a say in every part. Sometimes if something's hallucinated, sometimes it's harder to find out what's hallucinated than it is to actually just do it yourself in the first place. And this takes a lot of time. And yeah, people are like are having to check everything on that contract, including the extra fluff that AI tends to put in. It's like the contract could be like 5 times longer than it needs to be. And actually checking through that is so painful and time consuming. And if it doesn't get checked, then it goes to court or whatever. And that like 6-figure fines have been landed now. Like, so the risk and the quality is, I think, you know, when you're talking about 500 versus 1,000 versus whatever per month, it's small numbers for big law. Obviously that changes in the smaller firms, but I don't see, I see a lot of conversation around the pricing, but I'm not sure that's the biggest issue right now.
Yeah, that really isn't the biggest issue. I've noticed there's this misconception in the legal tech industry that if a tool costs, say, 30,000 a year, it's simply just a wrapper over a model. What do you think really differentiates like a low-cost legal tech tool to something that costs thousands a year? Do you think, you know?
Yeah, good question. I think half the time the tool looks very simple. It looks like a wrapper, but there's more that goes on behind the scenes than just, oh, it's just a wrapper. It's a lot of these firms are building their own graphs, their own databases, vector databases, things like that. They're building their own utilities, agents, and they kind of wrap everything together. But a wrapper can be very complex. Like, you know, you take a look at, so for example, I had a van in Europe and they all use the same base model, but the complexities around the electricals, the engine, all of that was kind of where the complicated parts happened. And I think it's the same with a wrapper. It's like, yeah, you've got the model, which does a lot of the grunt work. It's like the engine that sits there, but everything around it is so important too. It's like maybe in a law firm, you can say, okay, yeah, the lawyer is important, makes a lot of decisions, they got the experience, but the way the law firm functions with different departments, and you know, you've got everything from BD to crunching data to associates and paralegals, everyone that kind of works with you around the case is also really important, and it can get quite complex. So the wrapper, I think, in many cases is as important as the model itself.
And like, I think, I guess for a non-developer, my mindset is already thinking, if it's already built and you're repurposing the same software and code, why does it cost so much?
For the wrapper or for the model?
For the whole thing, for the
Yeah.
the tools that we the clients say sometimes you'll be charged 25,000. That same tool is being used by 1,000 different other firms, but the price isn't dropping. I would think that it's just build once, deploy, and then everyone's just using the same thing, and then you're making minor adjustments as you go, unless something else is happening in the background.
Yeah, sure. Well, if you think of like how much you paid for your laptop or computer, and the electric it consumes, you just need to multiply that by 100, 1000. It depends on the size of the model, and suddenly you've got a lot of laptops that are connected. Like they're AI laptops, essentially. They're machines that all kind of sit in a network together, all consuming electricity. And with that comes heat, and that requires water to cool it. And it gets very expensive very quick.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's something that to consider, that these are ongoing costs. It's not like you develop one thing and then there's nothing else to do. I wonder, what's your take on vibe coding? What's the obsession with lawyers trying to create their own software and other professionals trying to create their own software?
It's fun. It's really fun, I think. It's really, you get instant results, or the illusion of results sometimes, but it's fun to create stuff. I mean, we all love playing with Lego as a kid, or toys, and creating things. You get IKEA, like they deliver things flat packed, and it's fun creating a wardrobe or something. I think it's the same with vibe coding. It's just a lot of fun to create things, and it takes you out of your kind of repetitive day job and into something creative. So I think creativity is so important in any profession, especially if the majority of your job doesn't require creative work.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes, most of them are like fun tools. Have you ever seen I read articles on like someone vibe coded something over the weekend, and then it ended up being run throughout the firm, or they ended up getting funding. Is that something you've seen personally?
Yeah, it happens. A lot of the time, I mean, it's much easier because the procurement cycle is much faster. I mean, you've got someone that's already onboarded as a regulator's lawyer working for your firm. So I think the steps from product to deployment are a lot shorter and easier than actually procuring a tool.
And I wanted to know, in terms of funding, when legal tech companies are seeking funding, do they go through similar hurdles as any other company, or it's much more complex, considering selling to lawyers is very difficult?
I think it's I mean, raising funding for any company, I mean, if you've got good contacts and good relationships, then you could get funding quite easily. And you've just got to be right place at the right time with the right people. I think in the law, I mean, if you're a former lawyer and you've got your network, it can be a lot easier, especially in America. I've been to conferences out there where we've gone for drinks afterwards, and I've just seen it happen in real time. You share a beer with someone, and suddenly you're talking about doing a deal together. So it's just kind of, I see it as an extension of the way the law works in the fact that it is very relationship driven.
Yeah, that's the most common question, surprisingly, that I would get from most people is, how do I get clients, particularly people selling to law firms? Because it's such a difficult thing to sell to law firms, and it's difficult to tell someone that it's relational. You get one client, they refer you to someone else, and then once a bunch of law firms are using you, then they'll that's how you get it. Do you have any advice for someone who's just starting out? They've built their tool. Should they offer free trials, free subscriptions to law firms? Maybe.
No, not free, definitely. I think I'm against free software, especially for law firms, because it has to address a pain strongly enough that people want to pay for it. And two, it's not money that many lawyers are concerned about investing. It's their time. I mean, what's a $50, $100 pound saving on a license when they're charging $500-600 an hour, and they need to spend 3 hours looking over a system? It's probably quite buggy, and it's probably going to give them headaches, and they have to give feedback and get in touch with you. It's very time consuming, and a lot of big law firms, especially in the top 100, make time, like 20% or so, just for lawyers to play with technology so they can try things out. But then you've got the infosec, everything. I think,
Mm.
I think lawyers like. I've generally found that lawyers are very motivated. They like to be a part of the journey, and they like to be a part of the story, and they like to give advice. I mean, this is what lawyers do. They give advice, and they're very comfortable in giving advice. So rather than just position it as, oh, well, incentivize with free, it's like, I want you to be a part of this journey. I would love to have a say in this product. And really, I found when you position it like this, lawyers are very generous with their time, and they like to, show their expertise, and they like to, be the next hero in the company that brings in the next game-changing piece of tech. And if they have a say in how that's built in some way, then I think it's very valuable.
Yeah. And you have a company, a Data Surfer. How do you think that would help someone who's trying to sell to law firms?
Yeah, I've actually got three companies right now. I've got SureScale, which is consultancy. I work with LegalTech companies and law firms. I've got Data Surfer, which is currently in a sunset period, just because it's a lot of people are trying to vibe code sales tools right now, and it's a very crowded market. And I'm not investing so much time into that right now. And then I've got law firm signals, where I'm monitoring about 75, 80,000 law firms to look for changes on their websites, post on social media, and things like that. And that's very valuable to legal tech companies, because I'm able to see what job roles they're posting. I'm able to see if they add a new practice area to their website. I'm able to see what they're posting about, if they're posting more about tech than they were 6 months ago. Lots of kind of metadata points that build up a good picture that help which firms are the best ones to sell to next. So that's where a lot of my time and investment is going right now.
Nice. Is there an interesting thing you've noticed about the legal tech industry so far? Specific area?
Yeah, I could share a small, very short story. So, so one of the things I did with law firm signals is I analyzed every law firm I had in the database, and I checked something very simple. It's like, so there's these headers that you put on your website domain called SBF and DKIM. And what they basically do is they tell an email server that any email coming from that domain that belongs to that domain, that website. So when I send something from Nick at surescale.ai, the email server on the other end sends a quick check to surescale.ai saying, am I the valid sender of that email? And it says yes or no, in a very simple sense. And law firms, you'd think, would have the same protection, right? But actually I think it was 60 or 70% of the law firms I analyzed did not have these headers. So I could send an email to you from any lawyer I wanted at any law firm in that 60, 70%, saying, can you, this is urgent, can you click to access the portal and send me money? And this is really a common fraud case in law firms. It's people intercepting conveyancing, for example, saying, wire the money to this account. And I was like, shit, I've discovered something major right now. These firms need to know about it. So I sent 100 emails to them saying, did you know that you're unsecure and anyone can send an email from anyone in your firm claiming to be you? And I just got replies saying, remove me from your list, or marking as spam, or do not contact me. And I was thinking, like, oh wow, like these they really don't understand security that well, and it's a big problem. And actually
I've received a couple of those emails, by the way, from different law firms. They'll say, please sign this document, please review. And yeah, you're right. If you try to contact them back and say, hey, I received a dodgy email from you, they'll just be like, okay, delete it, move on. It's crazy.
when I was building a legal tech platform in the past, I emailed 100 lawyers. I sat down with them and we did interviews. And I gave them a line. I said, if this is usability and this is security, where is your priority? What's most important to you? And they all went straight to the usability. And there's such a relaxed attitude towards security. And I've worked with a lot of law firms. I spoke with their IT departments, and it's just crazy how relaxed and laid back a lot of them are. It's very concerning. And I think we're going to have, with AI, you've got prompt engineering attacks and all sorts of things. And, back then we had people sending things through Dropbox because they couldn't send an email attachment big enough on email, and they thought that was safe. And now we've got people copying and pasting things into ChatGPT without realizing that it loses attorney-client privilege and many things like that. It's just the attitude to security is shocking in the law.
I don't know why lawyers and law firms are so relaxed when it comes to things like privacy. Would you mind explaining what Hey Jude does?
Hey Jude was it's kind of a proxy server that I built and released open source that sits in between any system like open source. You could put Dockhouse on there. You could put, maybe even if they made the modification to Harvey, you could just install it on your computer or a central server, and it acts as a middle kind of point between you and OpenAI or Anthropic or one of the frontier models, any hosted AI model. And it basically intercepts anything that goes backwards and forwards, and it looks at PII data in there, and it tries to, it depends what setting, it will either completely redact it, or it will flag it to you that it's PII data, or it will try to redact as much as it can without losing the contextual meaning. For example, if I wanted to know the insurance policy of a company, like say it was Microsoft, I wanted to know what their insurance cover was up to, then you can't really redact that in a query to AI because it's critical to the context. So it's an LLM model that sits in between, and it tries to understand the context of what you're asking and decide to pass it through, decide what to redact, and decide what to revert back to the user for further clarification and notices or whatever. Before, it just tries to protect your data as much as possible.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing more than lawyers in that regard. And
yeah.
And I wanted to know, what do you think of Reddit versus LinkedIn in terms of growing a legal tech community?
Good question. I mean, 6 months ago, I was avoiding LinkedIn at all costs. It was just the algorithms were horrendous. It's full of a lot of AI noise at the moment. Reddit are really good at filtering out the bullshit. Sorry, should swear. Yeah, filtering out the noise. I think you just have to try both and lean into what works for you. I don't think there's one that, I mean, you may already have a good following on LinkedIn, so why not double down on that? You may be, I think it's what you're comfortable with. The hardest part with content creation and social media is just showing up and doing it. And you have to enjoy it to agree. It has to resonate with you. So I wouldn't choose one or the other. I'd lean into what you enjoy the most, what's working, and what you actually show up and post in.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more activity on like Reddit and honest conversations on Reddit, and also a bunch of companies are also responding to Reddit comments, which is something no one used to take Reddit seriously. And now a lot of these legal tech companies are on Reddit. They're actually responding. They're in the comment section. They're active on Reddit, which I find quite interesting. Some big law firms actually are also on Reddit now. They changed their names. They have a bunch of people underground on Reddit, which is really interesting. And one more question to close out our conversation, Nick. If you could make one prediction about legal tech in the next 12 months, what would it be?
Good
There's no wrong
question.
answers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't have a right answer in legal tech. It always surprises me. It always surprises me. One prediction. I can't predict it. I really can't.
I'll give one prediction that I'll make.
Please.
I think there'll be many layoffs in the next 12 months. Even though AI is doing really, really well, and there are a bunch of different opportunities, I think we'll see more layoffs in the next 12 months.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm just, when you said that, I'm thinking, so a lot of companies to make the layoff moves, the first ones were tech companies, and a lot of them are starting to regret that now. And the law is very careful. It's very calculated. It doesn't just follow the trend of any other industry. I think there will be layoffs, but I think there will be layoffs, but I think actually what could be possible, I'm not sure how this looks, is a repurposing of roles. In, like, for example, IKEA automated a lot of their customer service with AI agents, but they retrained those same staff into interior design consultancy roles. So I can kind of see that happening because there's a level, I mean, there's a clear pathway in the law at the moment for anyone that wants to become partner. They go through the different layers and become associate before partner, but kind of that low-end work is being replaced by AI, but also that low-end work is essential to training and understanding and fine-tuning intuition for those junior lawyers before going into associate and partner. So you can't just take them out, because otherwise you can't just go into associate or partner, right? So there has to be a pathway for them to get there. I mean, that's the dream for many people. It's not the dream of everyone, but it's the dream of many people going to law. They dream of getting to that partner level. So I think maybe there's just going to be a repurposing of roles so that they still have experience. Maybe they'll work alongside AI more, and maybe they'll even be put forwards in terms of testing things, benchmarking things. Maybe they'll become like legal tech engineers. That could be the pathway into associate. So yeah, I think possibly there will be layoffs, but yeah, well, then what happens? Like, you can't just remove a critical part of the process out without having something there. So I'm kind of leaning more towards repurposing.
And then there was something called, I think it's called AI agent law firms or agentic law firms, something like that. I don't know if you heard about that. What is that? Do you know?
Yeah, it's basically they either procure or build their own AI tools to automate a lot of the work, and then just kind of handhold the AI throughout to kind of guide it so clients get more value, because a lot of the work's being done with AI. It's like the Garfield case, right, where they paid like £400 and they won against a law firm. I didn't read into it much. I'm not sure how much of that is PR spin, but I think there's going to be more of that for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's our prediction. So thanks for chatting with me, Nick. It's been fun. I'll obviously reach out to you. If anyone wants to reach out to you, where are you most active?
Probably LinkedIn. LinkedIn. I do use Reddit, but I'm more of I got my developer hat on there, so it's more I'm just engaging with people on technical things around AI. But LinkedIn is where my law related work is mostly. I think my username, actually I'm not going to say, I can't remember.
I'll put a link to your LinkedIn so people can follow you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
All right. Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.